Red Bull have just done the most unimaginable. Well, at least for any other team than Red Bull. They've just completely blasted two of their drivers. And whilst you might have seen the criticism for Perez coming, the harsh words and reasoning to bring Yuki Tsunoda down will surely shock you. Why would they even do that? What's to gain? And will this be Tsunoda's last season for a Red Bull team as well? Red Bull senior advisor Helmut Marko started things off and blamed Sergio Perez alone for the title defeat, which hurt the squad. While Red Bull were unable to sustain their dominant form in F1 2024, which had seen them storm to consecutive title doubles, Sergio Perez's problems were particularly concerning, with his podium finish at April's Chinese Grand Prix serving as his season finale. Perez's future was already being questioned about before the summer break, but he returned to finish the season, eventually ending 285 points behind teammate Max Verstappen, who won his fourth consecutive Drivers' Championship. However, Red Bull lost the Constructors' Championship to McLaren, with Ferrari muscling their way into second place. Marko has identified the person responsible for the outcome. When asked in an interview if Red Bull was disappointed not to have retained the Constructors' title, Marko said, "Very sad, it hurts." The tip of the scales was that the difference between Max and Checo in the championship was 282 points, while the difference between the drivers of the competition was much smaller. That explains why we lost the Constructors' Championship. Going into the Abu Dhabi season finale, it was widely assumed that this would be Perez's final race as a Red Bull driver, and the assumption was confirmed when Perez announced his departure following the race weekend. While Perez's final season with Red Bull was a punishing experience, Marko sees the big picture as a triumph, but he claims that somewhere along the way in 2024, Perez and the Red Bull RB20 became a complete mismatch. There has been a certain drop in his performance, Marko acknowledged, although the overall balance over the years has been positive. In 2021, he contributed a lot to Max's first World Championship title, won a total of 5 Grands Prix, and was runner-up in the World Championship. Now, however, something between this car and his driving style no longer matched. Perez has not fully cut connections with Red Bull, however, as team manager Christian Horner has acknowledged that the Mexican will get some seat time outside of race weekends. "He's still going to be involved with the team," Horner said after Perez's departure. "He will be doing a couple of show runs with us during next year." But it was right for him, because it wasn't enjoyable for him either, getting all this scrutiny and pressure and expectation every weekend. With only 11 Grand Prix under his belt, Liam Lawson moves up from Racing Bulls to partner Verstappen at Red Bull in F1 2025. Isaac Hadjar, meanwhile, has graduated from F2 after finishing second in the championship against Red Bull B-team driver Yuki Tsunoda. And Horner was questioned if Perez may be demoted to Racing Bulls, a move Pierre Gasly made in 2019. "I think at the stage that Checo is at in his career, that wouldn't really have been an option for him," Horner told Sky F1. "It was nothing that we really ever discussed, or we didn't discuss or even talk about. So he's come to this decision now, and obviously we support it fully." Although the higher-ups were very critical of Perez, his successor was a bit more kind, as Liam Lawson expressed his huge respect for Sergio Perez after replacing him at Red Bull, as he prepares to support the Constructors' title push. Red Bull has named Liam Lawson as Perez's successor, with the Kiwi moving up from Racing Bulls with only 11 Grand Prix under his belt, and he admits he has big shoes to fill in taking over from Perez, a driver with whom he had run-ins last season, including Lawson's infamous middle finger salute at Perez's home race. When asked how much he respects Perez's contribution to F1, the Mexican is a 6-time Grand Prix champion, Lawson said, "It's huge. I mean, honestly, it goes back to when I was a kid, and I remember watching a race that I think really was one of his big sort of putting him on the map, was in Malaysia and in the Sauber, and he was fighting with Fernando Alonso. And I remember that race as a kid, watching that, so to be competing against these guys now, anyways, to put things into perspective, is quite crazy. And I have a huge amount of respect for what he's done in the sport, and what he's done for this team. So yeah, in a way, it's probably big shoes to fill, but obviously it's exciting." Christian Horner, the Red Bull team principal, has said unequivocally that Lawson will serve a supporting role to Verstappen in F1 2025, which he accepts. So obviously, that's what I'm set up to try and do, and anyway, achieving the best results is going to achieve that. So for me, my focus is to do as well as possible. However, Lawson does not always want to be Verstappen's wingman. He hopes to win his own world championship in Formula 1 in the future. Obviously, my ultimate goal in Formula 1 is to win a world championship, he continued. Am I expected to come and do that straight away? But obviously, that's where I'm trying to head to. And for me, I'll be trying to do the best job I can and supporting the team. And yeah, at this stage, I don't know how it's going to go, but I think from a team perspective, yes, the goal is to try and compete as close to Max as possible. Will he be able to do that? And what a wise decision. Many would have loved to see Tsunoda get the nod over Lawson. However, Red Bull apparently saw something we didn't, and it all had to do with Tsunoda's new teammate Hadjar. And this also resulted in harsh words for Tsunoda, who seems to be on his last straw at Racing Bulls. And that's because when Isaac Hadjar and Yuki Tsunoda stepped behind the wheel of the Red Bull RB20 in Abu Dhabi, Hadjar outperformed him. That is the point made by Red Bull team principal Christian Horner, who highlighted how Isaac Hadjar impressed and turned heads with his performance before to being confirmed for the F1 2025 grid. Isaac Hadjar outperformed Yuki Tsunoda in the Abu Dhabi Post 2024 season test. Tsunoda and Liam Lawson were considered for Red Bull promotions due to Sergio Perez's departure, while Hadjar was interested in a potential Racing Bulls position after finishing second in the 2024 F2 Championship. Perez ultimately announced his departure from Red Bull, and Lawson was chosen as Max Verstappen's new teammate, leaving Hadjar to partner Tsunoda at Racing Bulls the next season. And Horner stated that Hadjar turned heads when he and Tsunoda were given the opportunity to drive the Red Bull RB20 in the Abu Dhabi test, which was Tsunoda's first encounter with Red Bull machinery, with Hadjar finishing P15 overall and half a tenth ahead, leaving Tsunoda behind in the dust and making the decision easy for Red Bull. Isaac is another talent. He's quick, he jumped in the car, he was faster than Yuki in the test last week, which turned heads, Horner revealed. He's definitely a raw talent and needs a little bit of polishing, but he has the speed. He was unfortunate in Formula 2 to miss out at the last race due to technical glitches with start line software, from what I understand. But he's impressed as well, particularly with his speed. It will be interesting to see how things pan out. In terms of how things might turn out, this was the second Horner decision that Tsunoda will be concerned about as F1 2025 approaches. And it seems that 2025 might be the last season for Tsunoda within any of Red Bull's teams. We're acutely aware that if we're not able to provide an opportunity for Yuki, being, in all honesty, this year, 2025, does it make sense to keep him? Horner pondered. You can't have a driver in the support team for 5 years. You can't always be the bridesmaid. You've either got to let them go at that point or look at something different. However, Horner made it clear that Tsunoda's hopes are not lost as Lawson moves up to Red Bull after only 11 Grands Prix, showing us all once again just how ruthless Red Bull and F1 can be. I think he's very determined, Horner said of Tsunoda. He knows that things change very quickly. Who would have thought 9 months ago we'd be sitting here talking about Liam Lawson being our driver for 2025? Things change quickly in this industry, and he's aware of that, and knows that he needs to be the one demonstrating that he's the one knocking on the door. However, would they really consider swapping? Or is this just a front from Horner to keep everyone happy? What do you think? Are the team's words on Perez and Tsunoda fair? Or are they taking it too far to justify their decisions? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and let me know if Lawson and Hadjar will be able to turn our heads as well next season.